G'day, mate, and welcome to Friday Facts number 412 with undo, redo, improvements, car latency, and I have to undo and redo my friend. How you doing, Mojo?
Hi. I thought you were going to say a latent.
No. You're not a latent friend. Yeah. You could be a latent friend, but you're not a latent friend. So, we have a Friday Facts that's short, sweet, and it's going to affect everybody in some way, shape, or form.
Generally very good.
Generally very good. The first part's very good for every player, especially if any of them have accidentally tapped Control and Z at the same time and not realized. And then the second half's probably going to be good for lots of people that play online and play on servers that are not local, i.e. with your friend that happens to live, across probably a large section of water. So, we undo and redo. We've had undo forever, but ever since we got undo, people requested redo. We now have it.
Pretty much as soon as it came out, I started pressing Control Y to redo.
Yeah.
Expecting it to work. One day it will. Now, sometime soon it will.
I just expected it to work when we got it.
So did I.
Look, it's one of those things that Factorio has it. There's lots of other games that I really wish did have it. Some do have undo in some limited form, or not at all. A lot of them fall into the not at all category. So having both undo and this Friday Facts is going to give undo a little bit more depth that it didn't have previously is great. And not only that, having a redo is massive. Oh, now I'm wondering, I know undo's 20 lists long. If you're doing a speed run and you only put down 20 blueprints, can you get to the end and then Control Z the whole base?
Ooh, there's an interesting thought. As a new speedrun category.
New speedrun category. Can you launch a rocket and then undo everything and put it back into a box?
Pick the base back up. Bury it back into the iron patch.
Yep. Okay, so, couple of changes. We have...
Launch a base into space.
We now have a redo button. Well, hang on. Rockets now carry a limited amount of cargo capacity. So you probably can't launch it into a space. But I think if the very first blueprint you put down happens to be a whole lot of passive provider chests, and then undo everything, you could probably have enough bots that they could pack everything back into those passive provider chests that probably weren't placed till late game after you'd unlock the technology. It could be done. And it's probably a new interesting speedrun category that people are going to complete once to say, I did it. But we have undo and redo. So undo information confirmation. One of the things often super annoying and destructive is undoing actions sometimes by accident, and something far away from a long time ago is undone. For starters, we added a flying text notification that pops up when you use the undo hotkey, which is really helpful, except I probably have no idea where I made the small power pole.
Just imagine undoing something, and it just happens to be an 8,000 science a minute worth of copper smelting. That's going to be a very big list.
Yes. It'd just say entities. It'd be just entities. It'd be 5,000 entities, 8,000 entities, 10,000 entities.
I kind of like this.
You're going to see how far you can break it.
Just undo, just so you can see a big number on screen.
A big number. You like big number gabur. Okay, cool.
Yes.
In addition...
that's why you play Factorio.
Yes.
You open up the production stats to see big numbers go brr.
But it's going to get better, because when trying to undo an action is more than a few minutes old, there's a confirmation dialog pop-up. So if you accidentally tap Control and Z at the same time, it's now going to confirm that you actually want to undo something that was a few minutes old. I don't know how much a few minutes is. A few implies 2. But then our screenshot says 5. So it's more than 2, less than 5.
Yes.
And it tells you a couple of important things. So it's going to tell you where with a picture. And it's going to show you what you're going to undo. Oh, well, actually show you what you... Yeah, this is going to show you what you're going to be removing, because it's a deconstruction.
And the surface that it's on.
And the surface is on. So Mojo's 8,000 science per minute copper smelter is going to take up a very, very large picture. Very large picture. Yeah. It's a great feature. I like the feature. I'm
nice.
Also worried that I think the undo list is 20 items long. And I'm really worried about how big some of these images might get when you start looking at, like, that point when you're at the mega base and you're trying to go from, like, 1,000 minute science per minute. You've spent ages building modules and quality modules and now legendary items. And then you start pasting down large blueprints. How big some of these are going to be. Yeah. Yeah. But it's good. I like it. Also, if you're going to undo all this at once, that means that was the blueprint, which is a very odd blueprint to have, but we're going to continue. Okay. So another thing we discovered during our playtest is easy to forget what you had in the undo stack. This is especially true in Space Age, where players are constantly using remote view to jump between planets and space platforms. So we added preview tooltips, the undo and redo shortcuts, buttons that describes exactly what you're about to undo and on which planet or surface or platform. So you can also find the same thing with just hovering over it. And it's going to remove 2 buildings. Which also means these went down with a blueprint. Which is...
Potentially.
Well, it's not going to group things together.
I suppose it does look like it's rotated 90 degrees of the thing above it.
Yeah, it's a copy paste. So it's going to be like this has been a copy paste or a blueprint or something. So it's still those. It's not going to group things together. It's still whatever in the queue is individual actions. I can already mention, yes. And I think it's probably a missing feature because I've done it a few times where I've wanted to undo something from 4 steps ago. So I've copied a whole section of the base and then done 4 steps and then pasted the section that I'd, like the 3 steps after that, back over the top. I really want to, I can hover over my undo queue and like pick the 4th item back to just undo that 4th item. Rather than having to undo all 4 of them than redo 2 of them. Because
see, the trick is to ignore redoing those steps and then ignore the problem that it creates until much, much later. Until it's a much bigger problem.
No.
You can't ignore.
No. All right. So we've also made some undo improvements. So undoing generally, in its general purpose, works well, but there are some major issues that remain for many years. Putting out a blueprint and then using undo does not actually undo everything. Recipes set by the blueprint remain. That's always been a problem.
Very annoying.
Wires that are created are not removed. That's
also annoying.
Circuit wires and power wires from memory. Yeah.
I mean, it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Rotations are not restored to the original direction. Again, annoying. And filters and requests
never encountered it.
Not reverted. That's actually really annoying. That's probably the most
really, really annoying.
Yeah, because you'll paste something down and then make you realize you made a boo-boo and undo it. And then you've pasted on your bot base to make everything, and then realize that half the recipes or half the request chests are no longer have the right request in them.
In fairness, though, that one's more relevant to 2.0, where all inserters can be filters.
Oh yeah,
creates much bigger problems.
Oh
than limited
yeah,
to filter inserters.
Oh yeah.
So that's more of an impending problem that they're addressing than an actual than what it currently is, which is more of a fringe problem.
Yes. So this also presents a problem because one of the axioms used undo is that anything will be undone. Cleaning up a misplaced blueprint should just work with undo. So let's get it to work. So we've added undo wire connections, which I have to admit was really, really, really annoying. If I connected the wrong thing with a wire, I want to undo it. I couldn't undo it. And
spend the wire instead to delete it and then redo it.
Well, not only that, you wouldn't spend the wire.
Yeah, oh yeah, you don't actually spend the wire, but you got to use the wire to delete it and then spend the wire again.
But it's not only that. I didn't have red wire on me. I'm not somebody who carries around 200 red wire at all times. I would craft like 5 or 10 at a time, and then hopefully use it all so it's not sitting in my inventory chewing up an inventory slot. So there's lots of times I've put down and made that last connection, and this has been my last bit of wire, and then I've clicked the wrong thing, so I don't have any wire left to undo said wire connection. And
ironically as well, because the wires are being removed and it's becoming a tool, that's another problem in and of itself that's being removed, is that so you'll always have wire available.
You will, but this brings me to my next question, that if I connect a wire into a smart thing that then reads that wire input for a couple of ticks, and then I Control-Z it, does it then undo that input into my grand combination of combinations that I accidentally connected for 2 seconds?
That sounds like more of a you problem than a game problem.
Yeah, it sounds like I still need a master reset on my grand combinations of combinating things. Okay.
Yes.
So when placing blueprint, the creator wire is also added to the undo action, so the part of the blueprint problem is fixed. So now if you accidentally paste your grand combinators in the wrong combination spot, you can now undo them and all the wires that were added get disappeared, which is awesome. So then we have undo entity settings. So this is something that was never in current 1.1. And that being if you use the shift right click to copy, then shift left click to paste. That's the buttons.
That's one.
Yeah, they're not in the undo queue at all. So now they're going to be in the undo
Once
queue.
they're done, that's it.
Yeah, well, but not anymore. Now they're in the undo queue. You can undo things, which means less mistakes or quicker and easier to fix your mistakes. Probably more accurate. And it also applies to settings copy when placing a blueprint over enemies, so another blueprint problem is checked off the list. So then we have undo blueprint rotations. Using super force mode, it's possible to override an entity direction. There's no feature and saves robots mining and placing all the entities again, which is something with belts. If you had a belt that was flipped the other way, you could tell the robots to do it, but then they'd have to...
We'll spend the next hour flipping the direction by pulling it up and putting it back down again.
Oh, what's the worst thing is they didn't like walk over or fly over there to that belt, pick up that belt, put it straight back down. They'd be like, I'm going to go get that belt. And somebody different's going to bring a different bit of belt to put down in that one spot to then have it face the right direction. Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's even worse than that. Most of the time is that what they'll do is they'll grab new belt and be like, I'm going to put new belt down. And sit there hovering, waiting for the old belt to be removed forever.
Because the always more bots choose to build things than to remove things. Yep. Bots are awesome.
Bots hate removing things.
Bots are awesome. Maybe that's the next Friday Facts. We have bots are now prioritized to remove shit first, build shit second.
I'm sure we've already had that.
No, we haven't. We had better pathfinding for the bots and less likely to get abandoned over water and other things for bots. But we didn't have we prioritize deconstruction first. They prioritize localization, so they'll do local things first. So it might go a long way towards the
that was
deconstruction.
Indirectly going to do that.
Well, they still don't prioritize it. So if you have 600 jobs to do and you only have 400 bots, there is a chance that the 400 bots are living closer to where new belts are, and 400 belts take off with new belts to bring them to the spot where all the belts need to be flipped, and only 200 bots go to the belts that need to be picked up because they have to be flipped and choose to carry them all the way back, so then the 400 bots can put down the belts to then go and help remove the other belts.
And then you need another 400 belts to put down more bots.
Yeah, more bots to put down more belts, not belts, but put down more bots. But that's all besides the point. So it doesn't matter with super force mode. You can just have the belts auto flip with a click of the button. Also, you can undo the rotation of the belt flips, which is handy. It doesn't apply to rotations made using by hand.
For some reason, of all things that I accidentally do all the time, somehow
press the R mode.
I accidentally press R on a random belt.
Yeah, it's because you're walking down the bus, and you press E for inventory, and you clip the R button.
And fat finger R.
Yeah, you just gotta clip the side of it just for half a second. It's only when you're running down the bus with your mouse hovered over some bit of belt. Normally, it's going to be either something that you really don't want to sideload onto something else, or it's going to be one end of it underground. And then one whole lane of the bus just disappears. And it's
usually it just dumps another lane or onto another belt, random belt.
Yeah,
but plastic starts going down steel.
Yeah. That's annoying. I think the one for me is I accidentally reversed an underground, and then because I have a balancer on the iron line, it then fills back out to 4 belts. So you don't realize that you have one section of the bus that's only 3 lanes wide because you reversed an underground. Yeah. So in conclusion, with all these additions, undoing a blueprint placement is not only fully safe and clean operation, a small whoopsie won't leave your setup in disarray. A few details...
Disarray?
Yeah, disarray. Yep, a few details are subject to change, but the undo redo system is feeling way more useful than ever did before. These changes are coming to Factorio 2.0 and will be available to all players. So everybody's going to be happy. Hopefully.
So that's a base game update.
That's a base game update. Yep.
It's not going to be space only.
No. People that don't go to space can also undo things, Mojo.
Yes.
Who would have known? And then we have the next half of the Friday Facts, which only affects people that play multiplayer with people in other countries, definitely. Normally, with a distance of a large amount of water between them. That's sort of how you get this sort of latency. Or playing on
Or
a
hemisphere between them.
Yeah, or a hemisphere, or those that are playing on Starlink. That'll do it too. Yeah.
I was going to say the ISS or something.
Oh, Factorio and the ISS. Oh. I wonder if they could pay for a sponsorship ad campaign for that one.
I wonder what that would cost.
Factorio Space Age in space. I like that one. I said with 1.0, they should launch a retail copy, make a single retail copy in a DVD, the whole works of Factorio, launch it to space. Okay? Should have done it. Okay?
You can bounce radio signals off the ISS. There's a very narrow window. I forget how long it is. It's like it's like only a minute or two where you can actually send a signal up and it'll retransmit it.
Oh, okay. No, you can pay companies to launch anything really into space. Anything. And it's not that expensive to launch a DVD case into space, because that's all they need. They just need a DVD case launched to space and a picture of it. Done. That would have been a 1.0 announcement. Picture right there, worth every penny. Anyway, so anyone has dubious pressure of driving a car multiplayer with significant latency probably had their heart skip 100 milliseconds just after reading the title. Yes, I've done it many times. Car is not so bad. Car tends to run into things. The tank tends to run through things. First roboport placed, always good to place down that first roboport, the very first roboport. Even better if you happen to have a tank nearby and you just roll the tank through a roboport, because it turns out roboports don't have that many hit points. And a tank, even rolling very slowly, will go straight through a roboport without an issue. Yep.
So it turns out it was just latency all along. The car didn't, in fact, have magnetism towards buildings.
No. It still keeps its magnetism towards wooden power poles. 100%. How to find a tree in the middle of a desert or a power pole? It is getting a car. Getting a car, you will find every tree and every power pole. So, first of you, let me describe the problem. Driving around obstacles in Factorio is hard enough. Doing so with a delayed reaction of your vehicle to your input is even harder, especially if you want to go fast, which is usually the reason for driving a vehicle in the first place. So, driving in 1.1 with 30 ticks of latency, 500 milliseconds with 60 UPS. I swear I was sober, and we have the little video input control down bottom right-hand corner. And yeah, it definitely all lines up, 100%. I like
That's why tanks are great in multiplayer, because you don't crash into things. You just drive over the top of them.
Yeah, you just go through things. You just go through things.
Bots fix it.
Yep.
That's why bots are amazing.
Bots are the best slaves ever. So when literally doing Asylum with a battle tank, it would be nice to make it feel like it was doing so on an ice skating rink. The basic idea is the same as other latency hiding features. Predict the future game state from available information and show the player the predicted state instead of the current one. Reaction to inputs is instantaneous, the latency is hidden. Although the things can be never predicted perfectly, actions of other players, or would be too expensive to predict, interaction with enemies, other moving vehicles like trains, robots, deconstructing obstacles, and the basic driving seem like a simple enough. Static obstacles, the state of the car, and in truth, the basic implementation was simple enough. But we tend to quip around the office, nothing is simple in Factorio, and that is undoubtedly so when you're trying to officially simulate Factorio in order to hide latency. So some of the issues were incorrectly evaluating the state of speed modifiers, fuel train stickers, the yellow slime that spitters and worms sometime, the spitters and worms that we all love, that sort of stuff. So running over it, yeah, the vehicle would not accelerate or decelerate correctly because, they hadn't accounted for those sorts of things. Yep. Audio issues. Some of the sounds not being played when they should have. Others being played multiple times when they shouldn't have. That sounds annoying. Graphic issues from simple ones like car lights not drawing properly to incorrectly spawning track and exhaust particles. Sounds okay so far. Many issues when entering exit the car in weird circumstances. That sounds annoying too. Issues around remote view editor and switching between those. I have no idea, because that's like outside the car. I don't.
It sounds like a space remote view specific thing.
Yeah, but I don't know how that would be an issue, because it has nothing to do with the driving of the car, unless you're a passenger.
Unless you're driving a car and then remote view and then switching between them.
Maybe. An interesting issue where damage calculations for the game state and latency state had different order of operations, which were almost always equivalent, almost as bad in Factorio, because everything needs to add up and subtract perfectly. If it doesn't, you have a desync. So that's bad. Except when doing very little damage to an entity with very little health remaining due to rounding errors, which is exactly what happens when you try and destroy an obstacle by pushing it, or even better, turning with a stationary tank. I had no idea turning with a tank did more damage. I've learned something new. Today I learned. Is that the title of the video? Today I learnt in Factorio after
Go post it on Reddit.
12,000 hours.
Today I learned
something.
how to get banned on Reddit.
The turning in a tank that went up against the wall does more damage than just driving headfirst into it. There you go. Many small issues. Selecting latency hidden car. The latency hidden car not being moved by belts. Interaction with a not yet published mechanic. That's important. That's important. There's something else coming that we don't know about. Screen positioning when deactivating latency hiding during combat. So I should specify or explain this. So if you play Factorio, you have latency hiding kicking in all the time. This is why in Factorio everything feels smooth, even if you're connected to a server on the other side of the world, until you enter combat. As soon as you enter combat, latency hiding gets turned off, and you will have, unless you've experienced it a number of times, you'll notice the giant difference. And it's like trying to drive a car, just 10 times worse, 100 times worse, 1,000 times worse. Yes, much worse, much worse. It's sort of okay because combat's not that long and drawn out in Factorio in most maps, but it can be. And especially the worst thing, I think, is when you're going to and from the two different states between latency hiding and not latency hiding, because that's the point when the game sort of jumps backwards because you suddenly go back to real, not latency hidden. Yeah. But I'm still, I want to know what the interaction with not yet published mechanic. Dropping a space platform onto the car. What do you reckon, Mojo?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's something. It's something. Space platform landing on a car. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, we know they can get damaged. Surely they can crash. It has to be a thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just crashes like, just getting pictures of, which was the Star Trek movie where they crashed the Enterprise
I have no idea.
into the planet?
I have no idea.
One of the crap ones.
I have no idea. But what about
I just got that image in my head?
What about the Star Wars one where they go into hyperdrive like through the other ship? You know, that's got to cause some issues.
Oh, wasn't that one of the crap ones, recent ones?
Yeah, it was one of the recent ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
See, I can't. It's hard enough watching the prequel ones. Like, I haven't even made its way through the third prequel one. Like,
it was one of those ones where we've had rules and we've had law forever. But you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if? Oh, you know what? We're gonna have an if cool. Yeah, let's just turn that off. Okay. So, while one would expect to have prediction imperfections would be barely noticed, unfortunately not the case due to how we handle certain aspects of latency hiding. So, what do we say? The ghost one's the real one. The ghost one's the real one. A bug where the initial speed of the vehicle being entered was not correctly accounted for, latency 60 ticks. And the ghost one is the real truck, the real tank. So because you got into a tank that was already moving, yeah, the player jumped into a tank that was already moving and then tried to accelerate, but the acceleration didn't kick in. Is the only thing I can imagine. Oh, you jumped out and then jumped back in. Okay, yeah. So it fell out of sync, which would be bad.
It would be really annoying.
It would be bad. And it's similar to this, like if at the end of the clip, if the real tank slid back to where the ghost tank is, that's sort of what it's like going in and out of different combat modes. So in and out of latency hiding, you'll find that things just jump backwards to, you know, how they were half a second ago. So, problem number 1. Problem number 2, a bug where the vehicle was not being moved by belts in latency hiding. So we drove across the belts, nothing happened, and then the belts finally moved us when the game caught up. A little bit annoying, definitely hard to steer when you're being moved sideways suddenly without warning. Yeah. Not the end of the world. Okay. And then we have latency one-time effects. There is some stuff that you want to only be done once per client, regardless if it's during the game state or the latency state, like spawning a particle or playing a sound. A major part of how we accomplish this is by turning these into latency one-time effects, comparing them with the data structure of already performed ones that persist through both latency and game state updates, and only executing ones that have not yet been performed. Unfortunately, these checks need to be quite strict to allow, for example, multiple particles from the same source at the same tick close to each other. As a result, even when a minuscule mismatch between our predictions.
There we go.
Yep, we're rewarded by receiving an extra set of sounds and particles for every latency update, all at the same time. Even better, when they're not accounted for as circumstances happening for a bunch of ticks in a row, we get an additional set for every game state update tick, where our latency predictions differed from the one done in the previous game state update. These sound like they'll be very small and unnoticeable, but they were quite the opposite. So every small imperfection will need to be fixed, of course. Or the smaller latency is, the smaller latency is, any unaccounted for happenstance will both be less observable and less likely. I really wish you had a picture of this, because I'm thinking like the tank driving along, the particles coming out the back of it. If you're getting an extra particle for every single time that they're out of sync by an update a tick, that
You get a nice shower of particles.
yeah, that's what I'm
Really
thinking.
hoping to see a video of it, but we don't get one.
That's what I'm thinking. Like you'd have the tank just spitting dust everywhere until the ghost tank and the real tank catch up to one another. So missed opportunity.
Well,
I
not
think.
just that, but like if you go through trees, you're going to get the explosion of trees as well. You need
Oh,
get a
God.
shower of splinters.
Oh God. Oh
That's
God.
be a mod now.
Okay. Okay. So then we have the
Explosive trees. We
fine-
really need to, yeah, explosive trees. Really need to see trees explode. You
final
really need
result.
to punish them.
Final result. Video, go back to the start. Okay. Final result. Driving the current version with 30 ticks of latency, which is 500 milliseconds with 60 UPS. So jumps in a car, takes off. And the important thing is, as long as the ghost car follows the real car, like perfectly a couple of steps behind, then they've got everything down pat, apart from maybe the whole particle thing, maybe the whole sound effect thing. Car still disappears. It's still a thing.
It's consistent though.
The car consistently disappears. This is correct.
You know, the particles are late, but that's the point where the game figured out where you actually are. But it's consistent.
Yeah, the particles are definitely late. I didn't notice it the first time through. For the trees exploding.
Because that's where the car actually and the tank actually is. So it makes sense that they would be late. But you don't have to wait. You don't have to put the input in and then wait half a second later to see the result of it.
Well, you technically do need to, because the front tank doesn't have exploding trees on it. The front tank's just going through the tree, and it's the rear tank that has the tree
And then the real
explode
tank,
right behind it.
server tank, explodes. But that doesn't. For me, that doesn't matter because
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just, you know, here is us. Here's the final version. I'm like, yeah, final version still has one of the things you mentioned. So
I think they might revisit it to fix that.
look, I'm willing to bet this is like in progress. Like maybe not quite fully finished, because they do mention the one-time effects. They also mentioned the some of the issues, and also we have no idea what the interaction with the not yet published mechanic. Yeah, it's a new power armor suit. Lets you push tanks around, I hope. As the video results, latency is effectively hidden for almost all civilian intents and purposes. We hope you'll enjoy driving together once 2.0 arrives. I am looking forward to driving together. So what's the name of that mod that lets you drive straight lines?
Yes, that one.
That one. So the tank...
Vehicle snap.
That's it, vehicle snap. So the tank has, and all the vehicles have like 64 plus different rotations for the image. And they probably have even more than that for the actual angles the car can drive at. And Vehicle Snap brings it down to 16?
Something like that, yeah. It locks it onto a much coarser compass grid thing.
Yeah, I think you have the 4 cardinal directions.
Rotation and grid.
Yeah, so you have the 4 cardinal directions, plus you have the 45-degree offset, so you go northeast, east, south, yep, south, west, or west, north, God, yep, okay. And then it has the cross-section of both of those. So I think it's 16 rotations total, which is enough to do driving in just about every different direction you need to, and also means that you can actually drive a tank in a straight line. Because currently, that's one of the things about Factorio. The only way you can drive in a straight line is to pick the tank up or the car and put it down at a 90-degree offset, exactly to the angle you want to drive at to then jump in the tank. Like there's one in the...
Otherwise, you're just going to weeble wobble.
Yeah, well, there's the one in the intro where you have all the tanks drive across the screen. And that only happens with either a script or you get 20 players to put down 20 tanks and walk straight into it and only press the forward button. They're not allowed to press anything else, just the forward button. And then you have 20 tanks driving across the screen in perfect symmetry and just obliterating biter bases. Because it's one of the things I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to get a multiplayer server with like 10 players, 15 players, everybody gets a tank, and we all do a drive, and just everything's dead. Like, just straight through.
Just a mass multiplayer game where the goal is to load everyone into a tank and just have this giant, almost like eternal cylinder type thing going on.
And just drive through as many biter bases as possible. That's one thing I want to do. Everybody gets a stick of nuclear fuel and a tank.
You just need a mod to mark where everyone dies, so you can see a marker, and then you can get this nice little...
Oh, the map's going to have, like, in one direction, there's going to be no trees, no biters, no nothing, until the last player survives. Yeah, I think...
You get a trophy.
Yeah, you get a trophy. You get a trophy for, here's your participation award. Yeah, obviously I've been talking too long. I think that would be a great mod to also kill with 2.0. Just saying.
Vehicle Snap?
Vehicle Snap. Yeah. And max rate calculator. We can add max rate calculator still on the list. Yep. So, Mojo. Predictions.
I like max rate calculator.
Look, one of the rate calculators. I'm not that picky. Really not that picky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like any of them. They're all... My problem with them is they're all overcomplicated for what they are.
Max rate is draw a box over the item, and it tells you the input speed and the output speed. It's the basic one. You're thinking of rate calculator, which does like a whole lot more stuff.
Yeah. It's like there's Hellmod, and then there's this other one in particular too, and I have a special hatred for them because instead of just putting something simple in, you got to do the factory, and then there's
it's factory planner.
All this crap.
You're thinking factory
planner, yeah.
Yeah, where you got to design the base in an Excel spreadsheet in game of what your input buildings are, what your output buildings are, and that gives you your totals along with your excess, and then you can choose which excess is the priority excess and the extra excess. And I just want max rate calculator. Just draw a box over a single assembly. And it's like, hey, this needs 3 copper per second, and it needs 2 iron per second, and it's going to output 43 of these per second. You're like, great, that's all I needed.
Yep, that is all you need from those things. Yeah, max rate calculator, that's the one that I do want. It's the other ones that I don't want.
Yeah, I don't want factory, but I do not want to design a factory in a spreadsheet before I build the factory. If I'm going to do that, that's called speed running. I will actually make my own damn spreadsheet because it's a specialized thing. But
it's not only that, it's just in the most user-hostile interface ever conceived.
They're working within the game GUI.
Yeah, I know.
That says everything. Okay, but what it doesn't tell me is next Friday Facts is 413 predictions.
Payload is too large.
Payload is too large. That's your prediction. Okay. So that's going to be... So hang on. Does that translate into that we're going to find out how the space platforms unload and what speed they can unload at?
Maybe we will, yes. Maybe we'll find out some more stuff about the payload. That's what I've been holding out for.
Okay. Still going with biters.
More logistics with the space platform.
Biters, weapons, and armor. Biters, weapons, armor. Yep.
Armor?
Armor. Yeah, it's got to be on the list. Like,
True.
we're not dealing with space and lack of oxygen because we live in our little hub thingamajiggy bob on a space platform because we can't breathe, even though we can have toxic gases on the planet. It's not an issue. Breathe through those fine, but can't do space. Okay, sure. I got to set my reality somewhere. But we have more
The character
planets.
model already from the start is represented as having a fully enclosed suit.
Not true. Not true.
It looked like it.
Not true. The Factorio.
Oh no, you have to put the power armor ones on, don't you? Before
You've got to
helmet
put.
appears.
Before that, we've got a face mask, and I'm trying to find. I have an image. I have a high res image of the engineer. I got a couple of them actually.
See, I'm going by in-game, not by images.
Uh,
Because artist impressions can take a lot of liberties.
well, it's the woo.
I suppose, yeah.
There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
think it's one of the is it modular armor or power armor?
Actually, I don't think it's modular. I think it's this armor, which actually no, it would be modular armor.
That is modular armor.
Yeah, that's the modular armor.
Mask.
Yeah. So it's the modular armor. The heavy armor doesn't add the face mask yet.
Yeah, it just bulks up the body.
Yeah.
So potentially,
this one.
it would be. I'm not so keen on the idea of being forced to have a specific armor in space. I never liked that mechanic from other mods.
Yeah, it was a pain to start with, but then you just you got the tech, and then it was just never an issue anymore.
The funny thing is that currently you don't exit the space platform; you just exist inside the hub. So they probably, if I was to hazard a guess, they probably eliminated that requirement entirely.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
They're going to make it a mechanic.
Yeah, you're not going to need oxygen in space. No, you're just going to live in the hub, so it's not an issue. But I still think we're going to get better armor. I think we're going to get better armor. It's always been a gripe of Power Armor Mark II that it's great. It's great that you get it. But and then we got Roboports Mark II, and we never got Exoskeletons Mark II. What else do we get Mark IIs?
Roboports, shields.
Shields we already had.
Batteries. Power armor itself. Mark II power armor.
So Roboport Mark II was something that was added later in Factorio's development.
Yeah, that came much later.
So that was added late. The other ones we already had Mark IIs, both the shields and the batteries. So I'm expecting two more things. I'm expecting something that requires a 1x1, because having the belt immunity, which is a 1x1, is really annoying because it takes up
just a little bit
all by itself. So
it just forces you to have a solar panel.
Yes, I'm expecting something else to take up that other slot. Okay, something. I don't care what it is. Something. I'm also expecting Exoskeletons Mark II, a Reactor Mark II.
So
funny enough, after a couple of Roboports,
a Reactor Mark II, I'd believe. Everything else can be abused pretty hard once you get into quality.
Oh, that's true.
Because you get a big equipment grid even with the power armor. So and they've always been a bit stingy with the equipment grid in power armor. So I imagine I don't see a new power armor coming.
I do. All right, that's my prediction. Biters, power armor, or weapons.
Unless quality eliminates it or something, or they scale it accordingly. So Legendary doesn't get Power Armor 3 doesn't get absurd. Then again, they might just go full absurd.
Yeah, they might. If it's expensive enough, it's endgame. Who cares? And if you want a legendary power armor, you need to craft 4,000 of them to get one legendary due to the chances. Who cares? You put in the time and effort. All right, that is it for the Friday Facts. We'll set you next week for either, what was it, payload something?
Payload too large.
Payload too large, or biters, or armor, or weapons. One of those four. That's it. We're out. We're gonna call it right here. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next week for Friday Night Facts number 413. All right, bye.
Bye.
There we go. All right, done.
done,
Give me
Tiffany.
my 50 by 50 grid. 50 by 50 is too much. Generations.
I mean, even
Porgy
the
says generations. Generations. Star Trek Generations. They ran a ship to a planet, did they?
yeah, I knew it was a crap one.
I-
The funny thing, I actually have Generations on Laserdisc.
Oh my god, he has Laserdisc. Never mind.
Yeah, I actually have more than one Laserdisc.
More importantly, he has the Laserdisc player that works.
Do you, do you know how I found that?
You took a Laserdisc, you dropped a Laserdisc into it, and it booted up.
I kind of wanted one for a long time, but people were selling them on eBay for like $400, $500.
Uh-huh.
And then there was this one that I kept seeing on eBay. And then it disappeared. I was like, oh well. It was a very fancy karaoke one and pretty high end.
Oh, okay.
Didn't think anything of it. And then
Well,
like 2 months later, I see the same unit on the side of the road, just in a completely random suburb.
oh, they just couldn't get rid of it. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah. And so I just picked it up off the side of the road, carried it home. Well, this was
Wow.
actually not near home. I carried it to work at the time, which then carried home.
Wow. Okay.
It's also an auto flipping one. So when the laser reaches the end of the track, there's this little extendo traco thing that goes out the back and around to the top. So when it switches sides, the whole laser head goes through this 180-degree flipping track and then up to the top.
Okay.
It's pretty wild.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna try and find something to raid. Because I
That's
meant
probably what I
to.
find.
Yeah, I would be too. Like, I've never seen a Laserdisc ever.
Yeah. They're overhyped.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I know Linus has done videos on Laserdisc, all this sort of old tech. Also, who's the other one? DeBauer. DeBauer started going through old tech as well. I know a video I recently got recommended was a first ever water cooled GPU. Yeah, yeah. It's like fully water cooled, like not partially water cooled or factory afterwards. This was water cooled from the manufacturer.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's
In
like
mid to late 2000s.
I think I want to say it was a GT 660 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
I was actually thinking like an 8800
Nah.
because those ran pretty hot.
Well, the funny thing is, a lot of the old tech that he's pulled up, snooze ads. Okay, a lot of tech he's pulled up before, like he pulled out gigabyte water cooling thingamajiggy bobs, from when.
The 6800 GT ran hot really as well.
What was the brand that made all the heat sinks? Zalman.
Zellman.
For when Zalman was a massive brand, I had a couple of these gigabyte water pumps from when water pumps were first introduced in PC tech. You didn't go get a pond pump. I had a pair of those, and actually I'd only thrown them out like a year ago because they still worked. Like pump, reservoir, a whole lot, all kit and caboodle. The only catch was they needed Molex, which is a little bit harder to find nowadays. Yeah, a little bit harder to find. But I also have SATA to Molex converters because I'm not as bad as Mojo. I don't have a Laserdisc. All right, we're going to leave it here. We're going to go raid High Speed, who is playing Factorio. He's redesigning thingamajiggy bobs and stuff. Updating blueprints for next megabase. He's building another megabase. He's doing a blueprint rebuild. I'm gonna go edit a Friday Facts, get that uploaded. Also, Captain Ministry. Also, Workers Resources. Also, I don't know what else I'm doing today. Videos and stuff and things. But we'll be back tomorrow, more Captain Ministry, and I think that's the only plan I've got. Yep. So tell High Speed I said g'day, mate, as always. Come on, Twitch. The up arrow works. No, it doesn't. Okay, fine. I can't type. Cool, there you go. Tell High Speed I said g'day, mate, as always, and I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, Captain Ministry, and then. Oh yeah, that's right. I gotta get in a car and go driving long distances. Oh, I hate tomorrow. All right, gonna call it here. Oh, no, too late. All right, I'm gonna call it. That's it. I'm out. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stop streaming because the